now. This is a good, almost best case scenario for him where he can be eased into things. Jeff Sims didn't have that luxury last year. We've had, Scott Frost's first season where the game got canceled because of lightning against Akron or somebody like that we were supposed to play. It is what it is, and they're setting up nicely for him, but he's also passing the eye test for me. There was a lot of different situations where maybe a less talented or a less poised quarterback could have been rattled or panicky, whether it was the offensive line breaking down, players not being open on plays, and you have to extend the play, and you might get a little happy feet or get a little antsy in the pocket. He didn't seem to do any of those things. He seems to not have a problem at all throwing a ball away. Doesn't care. And unlike some other teams, I don't think stats were the big factor for this. I don't think they were worried about. I know they weren't, because he played one series in the second half and then they put him on the bench, which they should do. He's your guy going forward. He's the starting quarterback for your team. When you're up big, you put that guy on the bench and you let the guys underneath get reps, get repetitions, get comfortable, get looks, whatever you want to call it, and you keep him out of harm's way. And I think everything that you could ask from that game, from the perspective of Raiola looking at it, worked out perfectly. I mean, do some dimes. He had a couple times his receivers let him down. He missed a couple times. We saw, namely the one, if he would have lobbed it over the top to Banks as a touchdown. But that's going to happen as you're going through growing pains as a young quarterback. That's going to happen to seasoned vets that maybe you don't get to go through all your reads and look deep. Like, it is what it is. But the noticeable difference for me, for the team overall, but obviously led by Raiola, was when something negative or not great happened, that was it. He moved on from it. It wasn't the beginning of a domino effect that made things go from bad to worse. And that's the most I could ask for. They looked good against the team they were supposed to look good against. He looked good in pretty much all situations. I don't think there was a couple balls he threw where I'm like, man, that's risky. But you're going to get that with any quarterback. His talents aren't just what you see on the field. You know what I mean? I feel like at that young age, he has really high leadership skills. He has a really high football IQ. Like, there's just a lot going on there that I don't think is always going to be measured, be it stats or just watching game film. I couldn't be happier, to be honest with you, with where everything's at right now, with most of the season left and all of the conference play, actually.
We both keep cautioning, this was just UTEP. We want to keep that clear. But going into Colorado, and we won't break them down too much because we're going to have to do a whole preview on that. But you've seen Colorado play a full game. You've seen Nebraska play a full game. What does your gut tell you Raiola will look like against Colorado's defense specifically?
I know I'm the wet blanket guy, but my honest opinion isn't trying to play one way or the other. I think Colorado's incredibly overrated. I know they're incredibly overhyped. I think that Raiola will look better against Colorado than he did against UTEP. I think he'll be similar in stats and poise and things like that, but I think situational, in like a play-to-play or a series-to-series scenario, he's going to do things that make you go, oh shit, this is why he was rated as high as he was. You know better than anybody, man. I was very cautious on the Raiola hype, because how many times have we heard a big guy coming in, a big recruit or whatever coming in, and then when things get real and they're in a system, and it goes deeper than just Raiola, right? It's Matt Rule and his coaching staff and the system and the culture and everything they've implemented tied in with that high of a caliber of player, tied in with that good of a receiving room, and a pretty crowded, I wouldn't say stellar, but very good running back room, right? So everything's starting to line up to where Nebraska has no excuse not to get back to where they should have been and where they've been before in the past. I'm not saying this year I'm calling shots that they're going to be in the playoff. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, but I'm not that drastic on it. But it's like, this is what I hope to see in year 2 of the Frost era. When I think back to Frost and Martinez, these were the expectations I had. And it didn't live up to it. But now, again, with what tests have been put in front of them, I mean, as a pretty, some say skeptical, I say just realistic, I don't have much to complain about or, ask for more or whatever else. Like, it just looks, you take it at face value. It's like, yeah, the dude's legit. The system's coming around. The system's going to work. The culture's being implemented. And, the more as things progress, I think it's going to be tough for these. I don't want to keep harping or sound like a hater on Colorado, but it's a hype train, and like things like that aren't going to aren't gonna Nebraska's not gonna be in their own way, if that makes sense. That's how I look at it. When a team isn't in their own way, then you can compare talent on both sides, right? Collectively across the board. And I'm finally getting a little bit of assurance or reassurance or whatever that Nebraska is not going to be in their own way.
Yeah, the Huskers have been in their own way for a long time. Tell us what you guys think about Raiola's first start against UTEP. How do you think he'll do against Colorado?